All right, all right, fine. I'll be a gracious host. How you doing?
Little Mermaid is the scariest Disney movie by far, though.
Why the hell is Ace Blade in your Kickstarter?
Some comics. I'm getting controversial today. We're gonna get controversial today with.
My proudest moment is this interview and being able to talk to you two.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No.
Yes.
I'm not starting the show yet. You sent me this stuff at the very last moment, so I have to fill it out. Otherwise, I'm not gonna be able to pay attention. So I'm not starting the show.
Boys and girls, children of all
ages.
I don't have it in front of me. I'll make up.
I got it memorized. You better do it right. I do it every week. You got to do it right.
But I'm not. I'll make up my own thing. I'm like Miles Morales. I'm gonna do my own thing.
All right, I got it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Towards Comics in collaboration with Fourth Wall Productions respectfully brings to you the 131st episode of the Four Tales podcast. I am your very tired host, Kyron Silva. Across this way is the Orchid author of Ace Blade, Danny J. Quick, and together we are two award-winning Blurred comic creators here to help you find your next favorite comic. We are live on the Age to Geekdom Network via Facebook. Maybe Facebook. Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and possibly TikTok. Dan didn't tell me if he's on TikTok today or not.
Yes, I will be.
Okay. All right. So if you're listening or watching us live, thank you for your support. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and review our podcast because all your positive reviews and interactions help us reach a bigger audience. Dan J. Quick, what is going on, man?
Man, I'm living life, man. I'm feeling a lot better than I was 2 weeks ago, and I'm glad to be back, man. It feels like when I miss an episode, because I was not on Four Tales last week, and I was not on Top 5 this week. Yeah. And it feels like it's been a month. Like it feels like a long time. And I'm happy to be back. How are you doing?
No, I'm good. I mean, you're back. Like you said, you're back. The world feels normal. And I do want to give a big shout out to Javon Stokes. Javon stepped in last moment. We said our QB1 is down, QB2 you're up. You gotta finish the game, and he killed it. So Javon, if you're watching, thank you for being part of this. But no, man, the vibes were different without you. I mean, I'm just gonna put it like that.
Sure, of course, it's gonna be a different show, but Javon did do an amazing job. I was able to stop in for a moment, but it was good, man. It's always good to talk to comic book creators, and and
Michael Watson is a great interview, no matter what. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
He's pure energy. He's epic like that. So,
and he, I believe that they launched that campaign yesterday, right?
They did. Yeah, he reached his 100 follower back.
Yep.
They're doing pretty good with that. I mean, it's a 2-week campaign, if I'm not mistaken. And looking at this, he's a quarter of the way there already. So that's dope in one day.
Shout out to Michael Watson, who is also a member of the Agents of Geekdom's Network with his show Chat and Draw.
Okay, all right.
That's right.
I mean, he's on everybody's show, so
and he's got his own show and he's doing his own thing. But we also have an amazing creator this week. First time guest for Four Tales. What episode number is this?
131.
131 episodes.
131 times I sat in front of this computer and did this.
I'm at like 120 something.
Yeah,
but we have.
I want a day off, damn it.
No, you don't get any days off. I keep telling you that. You get no days off, Kyron. This is your show. We just come to help. So the creator of the Gallows Man and fellow TikToker, our man Brandon Ingram, is on the show this week.
Thank you for having me. Thank y'all.
Yeah, welcome to the show. With Dismay Comics, uh, for those who have not seen your work before, give us a quick rundown of you and Dismay Comics and what you do.
So I'm Brandon Ingram. I started up Dismay Comics. I started writing comics back in 2019, but regarding publishing, self-publishing comics, that started in 2021. So I've been self-publishing my own comics through Dismay Comics for about 3 years now. It's just been fun. I've come out with multiple titles. Dismay Avenue, which is like my horror anthology series, very inspired by the Twilight Zone, the 60s Rod Serling Twilight Zone. I love that stuff. Then went into making the Gallows Man, and then also spin-offs of the Gallows Man, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's been a short little bit that I've been in this, but I want to just keep going and keep going, sort of thing.
So what made you get into this? I mean, you said you've only been in it for not too long. What actually made you decide I'm going to sit down and jump into making comics?
It ultimately started back in 2017. I graduated high school 2015, and around that time, I was writing screenplays like as a hobby. I liked writing screenplays, but at that time, it was like shorts. I was writing like 10-page to 40-page screenplay sort of thing. And then there was an event in my life, not a big event, but it was more, I was in the nursing program, and I was miserable. It was one of those things where if people are wanting to do nursing, especially as a career, like something you want to do lifelong sort of thing, with any type of career thing, you got to have a passion for it. I didn't have a passion for it. I got into it for pretty decent money, not amazing, but pretty decent money and job security. Like nurses are always needed, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I lacked the passion to where I was just miserable that last year, constantly contemplating and stuff of, do I withdraw from the program? Do I not? Eventually, I withdrew, not even having a backup plan, which is dumb. I don't recommend people doing that. Try to have a backup plan. But I withdrew from the program. And at that point, I was like, I felt like I had like a quitter's mindset or like a quitter's mentality, that I just quit from this thing that all these people were looking at me like thinking I was going to do, sort of thing. And as writing has always almost been like a coping mechanism for me. So what it was once that happened, I was like, okay, I got to challenge myself. I need a W. I got to have that. So I challenged myself. I was like, okay, while I'm looking for a job, I want to write a feature-length script. I'd never written a feature-length script up until that point. I was like, I'm going to write a feature-length script, and I'm going to do it. My challenge was within 45 days. I want to have a first draft out within 45 days. And then I started thinking about it, the concepts and stuff. And ultimately, that led to the Gallows Man. And I'd never seen the 60s Batman show before, Adam West Batman. I'd seen clips online. I'd seen the memes, him holding the bomb over his head, stuff like that. And based on that sort of stuff, I was like, okay, what if you took this concept, campy, cheesy funness of 60s Batman show, and with that, you have him, he's about to punch someone. And then it goes bam, pow, bang before the punch connects. You don't see the punch connect. And then you usually see the aftermath after the bam or pow. And that aftermath is bad guy in handcuffs or bad guy on the ground, sort of thing. My concept was the aftermath after the punch not connecting and the pow. The aftermath is over the top, gory or violent, where guy falls and breaks his neck, or guy his leg pops out, his femur pops out, or just random over the top violence, where it is this happy-go-lucky golden age comic society, but you have this crazy violence to where like it is kind of satirizing that golden age period that we had in comics, where you would see comics on the shelves, you'd see horror stuff, you'd see superhero stuff, and some of the superheroes at that time were killing the bad guys, shooting them, whatever it may be. And 5-year-old picks it up. And I'm not applauding the comics code by any means. Comics code set comics back a lot. I do understand the initial thing they did. They just swung too far because you had all these crazy violent books or whatever it may be. And so you'd have like a 5-year-old see like the hero killing people, and it's like, yeah, go get him. Like this little kid, like, yeah, I believe in you, sort of thing. And so hyperizing that for the Gallows Man Society, where this whole society within this book is just desensitized to the violence, to where you have these characters that are like, there's a radio announcer within the comic that's like, the Gallows Man and Newsboy really got him today, hung him out to dry, like all that sort of stuff. And everyone's like, yeah, Gallows Man. So just satirizing that golden age feel of how comics actually were, and just hyperizing it without like crapping on it. And so that's how that feature-length script happened. I managed to write it within 30 days, that initial first draft. I was very proud of it. A couple years go by, I'm making edits, second draft, third draft, that sort of thing. I get into making horror anthology comics in 2019. While doing that, I was like, I want to make some more comics. And then I kind of dusted off the Gallows Man script. Basically, I was like, could I possibly re-edit this and turn it into a comic? And that's pretty much how it worked. I was able to look at it. I was like looking at the feature length script and like, oh, there's the end of issue 1. Oh, there's the end of issue 2. Oh, there's the end of issue 3. And then just doing all the re-edits to make it a comic. And that's essentially how it started.
Wow. Yeah. We have a similar historical perspective. I also quit when I realized that I didn't want to do nursing. But I was a nursing assistant. So actually I was deployed as a combat medic, and just a natural transition. When I came back from Iraq, I went into I got a job as a CNA, and I worked with nurses, and I realized that it is one of the hardest jobs to ever do, and that you, like you said, have to have the passion for it, and it is impossible not to take people's problems home with you. And that is not the type of stress that that's not the type of stress that I like. I like more of a problem solve, deadline, it's finished stress. And I decided, no, even though I love taking care of people and it's a very rewarding job, the stress of it was too much for me, and I was like, I can't do this. So I leaned into.
And then can we also add the amount of bio hazardy things we have to deal with? I couldn't deal with that part.
I gotta tell you, I don't know if I've ever told you the story. I had my first day of work as a CNA. I worked with veterans, right? So we had a lot of amputees and stuff who needed to help ambulating, getting to the bathrooms and stuff like that. My first day as a CNA, we had a patient. I had on, my fresh scrubs, clean. I had on white. I had on brand new white Reebok Classics. And I'm not going to say what happened. I'll just say I had to throw those shoes away. Throw those shoes away after the first day. This is a story that I tell all the time, but we was trying to help him get to the bathroom, and he looked at me on the side. He said,
I'm sorry.
I ain't gonna make it. He literally, I remember, like, the image that burned into my head. I had him up under the arm. He just turned to me and said, I ain't gonna make it. And next thing you know, I had to replace my shoes. And I was like, and I was a CNA for 6 years after that, but I never forgot it. And I was like, this is just not the job for me. But definitely, I can definitely relate.
But top or bottom? Which hole did it come out? Top or bottom?
Both.
Oh man, no, damn. Never mind.
Right.
What's like crazy is like I never graduated with my RN bachelor's degree and stuff, but I did like the residencies and stuff like at nursing homes and hospitals while I was in the program. And And not exactly that, but we were at a nursing home for the summer, and it was a few of us that would be there. And this one girl was taking someone somewhere. They were going somewhere, wheelchair,
Mhm.
taking them
The-
there.
She was supposed to be
And-
taking them, right? She wasn't kidnapping them, right?
No. They're supposed to go. I don't remember where they were going, but I was going to someone's room. This was like early in the morning. I was doing medications and stuff, and they're going by, and she's like I see kind of a panicked face on her, and she's like looking at me and like trying to be somewhat discreet. She was like, I need help. I need help. And basically what had happened was the person in the wheelchair, like not just like standard poop sort of thing. It was like messy, and like she needed to get out of the hallway just then, sort of thing. Yeah, it's there's a ton of other stories. Like I was only in this, and I wasn't even like in it, but I was only in this like residency type stuff for like 6 months. There's a number of stories, and Danny, you were in it for 6 years. I'm sure you have 1,000 stories.
Oh man, I can tell you, it's but again, nursing is is one of those things that you literally have to have the passion for. But
Oh, yeah.
also comics, I think indie comics is something that you have to have passion for too, because in my experience and in a lot of people's experience, it's something that can take a long time to get going. It's not something that's immediately profitable, and you have to kind of keep.
Comics are profitable?
Eventually, they can be. They can be. It's Todd
What
McFarlane.
year?
If you at year 2022,
Okay.
Todd McFarlane said he started making some real money around that.
The year 2022? Is that the year, or is that how long he was in?
That's how long he was. Or you could, there's a lot of passion that's required to keep doing this. And I definitely starting with the writing, man. I think just being able to have a story that is complete. So the film that you wrote, the feature-length film that you wrote, I would assume is a complete story for the Gallows Man. Is how many issues do you think it'll take for you to complete that story?
The miniseries itself is 4 issues, and initially it did just start out as that, as the feature-length script, and then editing it to a 4-issue comic script. But then as I've like been putting out more and more books, like we're on issue 3 now. Issue 2, I was looking at some of the minor characters that were introduced in issues 1 and 2, and I was like, what if I did like a little like anthology that had a few stories that followed some of these minor characters and stuff. And so like Tales from Town City branched off from that, and that's an anthology that follows 2 homeless villains trying to use expired coupons at a grocery store, and one of them has hypnotism powers, but they're very awful, to where he's failing simply to like hypnotize the person to take the expired coupons.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Is one of the homeless people supposed to be you?
That's the plus side, is it was a freak accident, but it's the one time where I made a character where I can affordably cosplay as. It's the one character I can affordably cosplay as.
Yeah, there we go.
Hypno Ray. He's got the glasses right there. He's got the tinfoil hat. Yeah, in total, I think I spent maybe $40, and a lot of that was the glasses. I paid someone on Etsy for glasses. That was like $25. The clothes, the tinfoil, I've got some Reynolds wrap in the kitchen. I just use that sort of thing. But the clothes I just found at thrift shops and stuff, and just was able to do that.
You can see the resemblance in this image right here for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a happy little accident.
All right, Bob Ross.
I love it. Okay, so tell us about more about the Gallows Man. I know, just looking at your Kickstarter page, you got Gallows Man and you got Newsboy, right? What is the inspiration? Like, how do you come up with Newsboy as your sidekick? Like that takes some balls to do. I think, and then seeing your villain, seeing your main villain here, who has kind of a speech impediment. I think.
Yeah. Like an Elmer Fudd speech impediment. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
With Newsboy first, it was one of those things where I made the Gallows Man, but since I am like homaging Golden Age comics as well as Batman and stuff like that, I was like, I want him to have a sidekick. And if he's Gallows Man, there needs to be, like, initially I didn't even have a name for Newsboy. It was like I had the idea, the clothing idea of, it's a little like 10-year-old, 11-year-old boy in an executioner outfit. And we went through like I remember going through multiple Google images of like Party City type executioner costumes. I was like, Helen, let's use a hood similar to this, but change the collar to this and change this to that sort of thing to get the image of him basically. And then the reason I went with Newsboy is like for this world that it is. Like Gallows Man himself, like this is a hero. This is this world's Batman. And yet the character's name Gallows Man, like that's that's like saying like axe murderer. Oh, the great hero axe murderer. Yeah, I love that guy. It's satirizing that to where you have, and like I don't mention this in the comic and stuff, it's my way of thinking. If you have this world that is like this over the topness to the desensitization to violence, you'll have kids like Charlie who you hear his name and at the end of issue 2 where like they look up to Gallows Man and then spawns a sidekick named Newsboy sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely tell just in this image how much he just admires Gallows Man and just wants to be like him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And you gotta love your sidekick when he has buck teeth. I mean,
Yes.
that's just awesome. So this is issue 3. You did mention you have issue 4 in the shoot.
Yes.
And your Kickstarter is already funded. So how far after this Kickstarter ends, which if anybody's watching, you still have 27 days it shows to go check out the Kickstarter. I'll put the link in the comics. But how long after this issue goes through Kickstarter will you expect issue 4 to come out?
Issue 4 likely the end of next year or early 2026. The reason there is that gap is like this isn't a standard size comic. Like each issue is 52 plus pages long, and issue 3 is the longest one. It's 60 plus pages. So each issue is like essentially a staple bound mini graphic novel sort of thing. And as we're winding down towards the end of this miniseries, we're trying to tweak, make sure we get everything just right and just have it just right before we put it out. Because, I mean, we've been making Gallows Man since 2021 sort of thing. And there has been a progression and not only my sensibility as an editor, but also Helen in her art and her comfort in this series to where you can see that growth. Issues 1 and 2 are great issues, but you see our progression and us becoming better along the way with this. So we're just trying to make sure issue 4 is just right. And it is also lengthy. So that's why it'll take a little bit longer.
One thing I was noticing, just going through the information about the book and you, just doing research on you, is that this book is a very big international collection. Like, if I'm not mistaken, you're in Florida. Helen, who is the artist, she's in the United Kingdom. You have your cover artists are in, like, what was it, Greece and Brazil?
Yeah.
I mean, how does that come about where you're getting all this talent from so many different places?
Well, Helen, before we started working on the Gallows Man, I found Helen through DeviantArt. This is before I knew about Facebook groups and Instagram and all these different areas to find artists to collab with. I only knew of DeviantArt, so I scoured tens, if not 100 hours when I was making Dismay Avenue number 1 and 2 of trying to find the right artist and stuff like that. And it was like, I don't recommend people doing it today. It's just I didn't know about Facebook groups and Instagram and stuff. Like,
Man, deviant art is old reliable. You can find some, man. You can find all kinds of artists on deviant art, man. That's the place. That used to be the place back in the day, I'll say.
yeah, you can find great artists. You can definitely find great artists. I am glad that I did it at that time because I found great artists that I still work with today, like Helen. But we did a 15-page story for one of my horror anthology stuff. So that's how I found Helen. Thomas Tikas, who is the main cover artist of the Gallows Man, he actually reached out to me. I had seen some indie work that he was doing before. He did a series called Burlap. He was doing the cover art for a series called Burlap. And he reached out to me and was like, hey, like, are you interested in cover art? Like basically like sending me his portfolio sort of thing. And I looked through it and I was like, yeah, I think that could work. So hired him as the cover artist. And Rick, I think I was just like a fan of Rick's. Like I followed his Instagram account because his art style, I'm not saying it is this, but it's very reminiscent of Scotty Young. And I do like Scotty Young's art. And so I was following his art style and I had Thomas, he did the issue 1 cover art. I was like, what is something that is like very different from this? If I'm going to do one other cover, like just one cover B sort of thing, something that is very different from this. And that's how I reached out to Rick because his art style is very different from Thomas's. To where when people like buy my book at Kickstarter or a very local con sort of thing, it's like, hey, which would you like? You said you want to buy the book. Now you get to choose sort of thing. Cover A, cover B, kind of whichever you prefer sort of thing.
I gotta ask you one more thing before we do quick take. Because if depending on your answer, like I have a theory that I've had in my mind for a long time, and I just want to know what is the Apple a Day short that you have on a Kickstarter? Tell me about that.
Okay, so it is a story that will be in Tales from Town City number 2, but Tales from Town City number 2 is on the back burner right now because there's multiple series I'm working on now. But we've had this story done for like over a year, and I want people to be able to read it at least. An Apple a Day it's in between, it's set in within issue 2 of the Gallows Man. There's a part in issue 2 of the Gallows Man where Gallows Man is going to work. He's a mortician and he works at a funeral parlor and stuff, and he's riding his bike to work. And there's kids that are at the bus stop. They're like, hey, you got any apples today, Mr. Dickerson? He's like, no apples today. And he goes away. That's all that happens in issue 2. In this 5-page little thing, when he goes away, you then see what the kids do from there. And it's basically, they're like, oh no, like, what are we going to do? We didn't get apples. It then cuts to them at the hospital. They're at the hospital and their teacher is in the hospital bed, and she's on life support on the hospital bed. And they're like, oh no. And knock at the door happens. And the doctor's like, kids, were you able to find any apples? And they're like, no, we weren't, doctor. And, and he's basically like, well, this might be the end for your teacher. It's better dialogue. I forget exactly what the dialogue is, but it's like, this might be the end for your teacher because of her daily diet of apples. Yeah. And
okay, so I have this theory, and this is gonna sound this might make a lot of sense to some people, but I'm sure it's gonna sound like I'm crazy. Okay, so I'm a religious guy. I believe in God.
Yeah.
You know, I have this theory that the way God makes sure that things happen, like is that he gives multiple people the same inspiration,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So a million people in the world might get this same idea, but only we know statistically only a certain amount of people are going to go through with an idea, right? Just like with ads, you can put a million people can see it, but only
Yeah.
10% or so are going to actually respond to the ad. So I had this idea called an apple a day. When I first started TikTok, I was like, yo, this would be a hilarious video. But the day that I tried to shoot it, my family wasn't here. And then by the time they got here, I was like, oh, I'm not going to do it. So I had this idea that we as a family would come downstairs and be like, all right, everybody, it's time for our daily apples, right? But one of the kids had eaten one of the apples. So I, as the dad would sacrifice, I would say, okay, I think I have time. I can make it to the store to get an apple. And as soon as I open the door, the doctor is standing there. The doctor is standing there with the alarm going off. He says, an apple a day will keep the doctor away. I had this idea. I was like, yo, this would be hilarious. And it would be easy to shoot. But, I just never did it. But I never forgot about that idea. And when I saw when I saw it on your page, I was like, yo, I feel like this is, a similar idea. But, like I said, I've had this theory that, God gives a lot of people the same ideas, but only a certain amount of people are going to go through with those ideas. And then the people who need to see them and be inspired, will connect with them somehow. So anyways, that was
100%.
a whole weird thing, but
That was not where I thought you were going to go with that question, honestly. No, serious. All right. Where I thought you were going to go, and maybe Brandon, you can expand on this. Is I thought you were going to ask about Danny's journal.
my journal.
No, Brandon has something called Danny's journal.
Oh yeah. I saw that too. I was like, who's Danny, and why am I in his journal?
And I thought you were going to talk about that because you're Danny J. Quick. I was like,
I did see that, and that was what I was looking at for my quick takes, but I didn't include it. So tell us about Danny's journal before we get to quick takes.
Yeah, Danny's journal was a book, and I wrote it in like one of those detective type notebook sort of things when I was 10 years old, but it had like a smiley face cover on it.
Mm-hmm.
I was 10 years old, and I wrote this story that is a horror story. It's but it's a 10-year-old writing it who has watched Joyride and has watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre and is clearly just making a ripoff of those two.
Mm-hmm.
Danny's journal was that. My school had some sort of program where you could publish a book, where they make a hardbound book that you write or whatever, and they'll staple it and all that. And it's a complete scam / ripoff because it was $50 for 2 copies. That is bull crap.
wow.
But that's how it pretty much was. And what's weird and interesting about that, because I reread it a year ago and made some TikToks on it, was seeing like, oh crap, like this was 10-year-old Brandon. Like he's writing some like kind of like oh no, like I don't know. But what's even worse about it is my handwriting was awful, and the way this printing thing was, you didn't type it in and like they print it that way. They gave you lines, like a piece of paper with lines on it, and you had to write on the lines, and then they'd print that. My handwriting was awful, still is. So I gave my mom my notebook and said, can you write word for word on these papers so they can be printed? So my mom saw everything. Saw everything her 10-year-old son wrote. And me looking at it now in retrospect, I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh, she had to be thinking like, oh no, we gotta find Brandon some help or something.
Have you talked to your mom about that?
I haven't. I was talking with a buddy of mine like a couple months ago about Danny's journal and stuff. I told him I want to talk to her and just ask her, like, what were your
Wait,
thoughts
are you sure
when
you
you
talked with
wrote
her, though?
this? No, I haven't talked with her about it.
No, I'm saying, are
I
you
want
sure you
to.
want to, though?
I think I turned out okay in the end.
You'll be like,
But
I was gonna send you to Catholic. I was gonna send you to Catholic training, but I heard
Yeah.
about the nuns. I heard about the priests, and I figured they might.
well, that's the thing is, like, I'm a Christian. I grew up in a Christian household and stuff. So her reading that, she was probably like, "Oh no!"
That's hilarious. Oh,
She probably was praying for hours after that.
You put some holy water in your room. You never know. She was like, "Oh yeah, you remember that? You remember what I bought you for your 11th birthday? That crucifix? Yeah."
Wait, she's like, remember I bought you a Transformer, but you only went like that?
It's just
Oh man, that's hilarious. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's time for quick takes. This is one of my favorite parts of the show. Now that I know a little more about you, I could have given you some more in-depth questions, but I think you'll enjoy these. So, Kyron, when you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm
Mr.
not ready.
60,000's in the building.
Who? What? Oh,
Mr. 60,000 is in the building. Brad Arney.
Brad
Shout out to
Arney.
Brad Arney.
We still really do need to get
We need to get Brad Arney on the show.
On the show, yes.
Yes.
Right.
Brad,
Right.
I'm reaching out to you.
Oh, I thought you were gonna make like your pitch.
I thought you no.
Okay.
I'm gonna send him a message right now. I'm ready for
okay.
quick takes with you.
Quick takes.
All right. So if you haven't seen the show before, or you haven't seen the show where we had a guest before, uh, Quick Takes is a rapid Q&A session where we grill our guests on their deepest, darkest secrets from the internet. And because we couldn't find any of your deepest, darkest secrets, we're just going to ask you some standard stuff. So Brandon,
wow, that sounds horrible to say it like that.
No, we literally searched for his personal profiles, and I was like, bro, he's a wraith. I can't find this guy.
I had it all scrubbed.
Yeah.
It feels like it.
And I'm pretty good at finding people. So we had to search from your Dismay Comics page, and here we go. So you'll have 45 seconds to answer each question. We got 5 questions for you, starting with this one. Okay, this is something that we ask a lot of creators, especially indie creators. Do you prefer big shows or small cons, and why?
I prefer small cons. I've only been doing cons for about 2 years now, but for some reason, even though it's only been 2 years, I feel like a grizzled old man. I do like big shows. It's just 3-day shows are a kick in the butt for me. Fridays are always like, oh god, like it's something else with Fridays. I prefer small shows. It's more intimate. You are actually able to have more interactions, at least. I do like both though, but I'd say small shows, and I always bring a buddy with me to where it just helps things. It helps with the lull period sort of thing.
For sure. Yeah, cons will make you feel like a grizzled old man for sure. You do 1 or 2, or if you try to run one like Kyron did, it'll definitely take it out of you. Okay.
Can I do a shout out real quick?
Absolutely.
Shout out to everybody that came to CrockerCon last night. I really appreciate everybody that stopped by. I don't know the exact numbers that we had, but my understanding is it was at least 1,000 people came through the 3-hour event. So shout out to everybody. I appreciate everybody that provided feedback. And next year when we do this again, I hope to make it even better.
There we go. I'm gonna do my best to get out there next year too. So we're gonna make it happen.
Or you say that, so you put it out in the ether. If you're not here,
I'm speaking it into existence. I'm trying to. That's one thing I'm going to try to do next year is get out, even if I'm not invited as a guest or have a table. Just want to go.
Just do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams.
That's right.
Well, Also, it's an expensive trip for him to fly all the way across the
all the way
country
all the way across the country
for a
for
3-hour
For
event.
3 hours.
right for a 3-hour event. But yes, definitely want to support CrockerCon. Okay, so question number 2. What in 45 seconds? Tell us the best and worst parts of creating.
The worst part, I'll go with that first. The worst part is sometimes marketing. And that doesn't mean podcasts, that doesn't mean doing this, doing ads, different stuff like that. The worst part is just like sometimes you'll have like this great thing where it's like, oh, I know this will get people's eyes or whatever. And you might even put AdSense into it and nothing. No one pays attention to it, even though it's the best thing you got. Best thing about creating is collaborating, as well as like I we're all creative people, but just having an outlet, being able to put this out into the world. And since we like it, maybe there's some people that like it.
Absolutely. Creating is always worth it, man. It's always worth it. When we figure out this marketing thing, though, I think we'll be all right. We just none of us have enough money to just throw at it like some people. So, okay, question number 3. So, I want you to give us your All-Star Superman hot take in 45 seconds.
Okay. So my hot take is I really like All-Star Superman. It is a top 10 Superman comic. I do not think, me personally, it is the best Superman comic, though. My hot take is I think Tom King's Superman Up in the Sky is better than All-Star Superman. Superman Up in the Sky hits a ton of crucial notes with Superman. I think people will love it. The issue with that comic is it was a Walmart book, and then they eventually put it into issues, so barely anyone read it. They made trades. The trades are out of print. You can pick them up for like $50, basically. It's hard to find. Tom King's Superman Up in the Sky is better than All-Star Superman, but All-Star Superman is still top 10.
I actually didn't read that one, and because I saw your video that you made, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look up and find it. Now that I'm a new Superman fan, because of our previous guest Robert Venditti, I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm gonna have to check it out.
It is available on Amazon for about $13.
Oh, really?
Yes.
For
Okay.
paperback.
So they reprint it perfectly.
There we
Although
go.
this might be used versions also I'm looking at, but
Oh, okay.
I'm fine with that. Awesome. Okay. So, now this one you might have some people coming after you. Okay. I believe you're an anime fan, right? Anime fan. Okay. So,
yeah.
I want to know, in your opinion, okay, Goku versus Naruto versus Deku, who wins and why?
I'm gonna say Goku. I do think. I mean, like Naruto is powerful, but like Sans and the Hidden Leaf Village and all that stuff, it's a different scale. It's a completely different scale sort of thing. Deku, I think a little bit more powerful than Naruto. Maybe about even. I think Goku is just like much more powerful. Goku's up there with Superman. I do think Superman would beat Goku in a fight, but it all comes down to writer sort of thing. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, if you are stacking these three up, I think Goku, it's just a different scale sort of thing.
Yeah, Goku's. I think it's kind of the thing with like Batman and Superman. The more content that they have out, the more books and anime and games, all that stuff that they have out, the feats just become so unbelievable.
I don't like the fact that you stereotype anime fans that only to automatically know Goku, Naruto, and Deku and all this stuff. Like maybe he was into like Your Name, or like maybe he's into One Piece, or maybe he was into Your Lie in April.
Here's a closer fight: Goku and Sailor Moon. That's close.
Yes, actually, Sailor Moon wins that.
Yeah,
Sailor Moon is truly OP, but yeah, I didn't want to put you on the spotlight. I didn't want to have you on record saying that Sailor Moon could be Goku. I wouldn't do that to you.
It's already out there in the universe.
Yeah. One Punch Man. I don't even count One Punch Man. One Punch Man is
Wait,
is
what do you mean you don't count One Punch Man?
it's just like it's so satire.
It's a
that
comedy. It's
doesn't count.
satire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not.
And
We don't take One Punch. I don't take One Punch Man seriously. Okay, Brad. All right, Brad. Mr.
thank you, Brad and Morgan. Thank you.
I'm praying for all y'all. Okay. Last but not least, we have a top 5 list. Because one of my other shows is Top 5 Live, which is hosted by Morgan Iverson. And I always try to get my guests to do a top 5 list off the top of their head. And because you're an anime fan, I want to know, what are your top 5 greatest anime of all time?
And I'm going to judge you based off of your number one, just so that you know.
Could I tweak it to manga?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that'll work.
Vagabond is number 1 for me. Vagabond is a fantastic fantastic manga. Berserk is number 2. I know a lot of people will put Berserk as their top 3. It's in my top 3. I think Vagabond is better though. Check it out. Vagabond is an amazing series. Doesn't get enough love. What's some others? I know it's not, but Uzumaki's up there in terms of Junji Ito stuff. I love Junji Ito stuff. Chainsaw Man. Yeah, sure. I'll put it there. The Drifting Classroom is a hidden gem of horror from the 70s.
Okay.
The Drifting Classroom. Okay, I haven't heard of that one. I'm gonna look that up right now. The Drifting.
No, not right now. Finish the rest of the show.
I'll forget it if I don't do it now. I have to.
It's really weird and kind of like ahead of its time with horror, because it was like early 70s when it came out.
One of my favorite things to do as a father is put my children on to things. So if I find something I think they'll enjoy, it is my I get the most joy out of sharing those things with my children. And that sounds like something that my middle daughter would like, so I'm going to read it and then recommend it to her. Yes. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for doing Quick Takes. This week, Quick Takes is brought to you by Gemini Comic Supply. If you go on to GeminiComicSupply.com and use the promo code AceBlade, you will get 10% off your entire order. So we appreciate you doing it. And I know you use Gemini mailers too, right?
Yeah, I use them for all my orders, like pretty much right when I started Kickstarter. Like when you're doing a Kickstarter, you're researching all this stuff. You're researching printers, you're researching best you're researching best way to ship books and stuff. Yeah. And like through all that, like it boiled down to Gemini.
If you care about the books that you're shipping, you should be researching that stuff, because there's a lot of books that I've gotten that were just like in a piece of plastic and not even.
I've gotten some that are just bag and board in a mailer, like just a poly bag mailer. People do not do that. Please protect your book that you're shipping out, especially if you're doing a Kickstarter or something, because they're likely paying $15 to $20 for your book. And if they're buying more books, sort of thing, like they're paying that much. Don't send them like spine ticked books sort of thing.
Even if you put it in Gemini, it can still get messed up. I've had the post office bend my Gemini package, and it was actually the copy of The Surgeon.
Oh, wow, really?
And there was 2 books in there, both had bag and board and the Gemini package, and my postal service still bent this Gemini container into like an L shape.
Did they have something against you? Because I only see that as like Batman getting his spine broken. Like they do the knee or something.
Somebody did that on purpose.
I do want to point out a couple of responses here from Brad Arney, saying he loves the Gallows of Fun series he is sorry that he missed this evening show because he's picked up your issues and he loved them. So
thank you.
Shout out to Brad as always.
Brad has, we call him Mr. 60,000 now. So he's one of the biggest supporters of indie comics. He has a whole room full of just books, and we need to fly out and do like a documentary on Brad's collection. Like somebody needs to document this thing sometime. But anyway,
so if you buy enough Gemini suppliers using the code AceBlade, you can help get us to Brad in the documentary.
That's right. The first Four Tales podcast documentary.
There you go. All right, but I had one more question. I don't know if I want to ask it now because we're running out of time, but I'm
Ask
gonna do
it.
it anyways. So Brandon Ingram, how many times do you get mixed up with the NBA player Brandon Ingram?
All the time.
Okay.
It was even worse. I used to substitute teach, and it was even worse there because Brandon Ingram was like the biggest he was, like in Lakers and was it Pelicans right after?
Yeah, he's in
Yeah.
Pelicans right now.
Or yeah, so I was substitute teaching, and I'd go in, and usually, and it's little kids as well. It's like fourth graders, fifth graders, sort of thing. Teacher would sometimes write like the sub's name on the board, sort of thing. So I walk in, and they're all. I heard one kid like, "Oh," like sort of thing, and I was like, "What?" He's like, "I saw Brandon Ingram on the board. I thought it was, I thought it was going to be the NBA player."
Oh, the
Like,
NBA
sorry.
player is going to be our substitute teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, saw Brandon Ingram. Thought it was gonna be a 6'9" black guy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, deep disappointed.
Terrible.
That's hilarious. All right, but we appreciate you being on our show and dealing with
Thank you.
us. We want to make sure people keep up with you and follow you and the Gallows man. I've been putting the Kickstarter in the link, so hopefully you get more responses. But where can people maybe follow you online and your social media?
I lucked out back in 2019 when I made all the socials. Dismay Comics for Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't have to put any numbers or anything. I got very lucky with that. So Dismay Comics, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Me and a buddy of mine, it's really just shooting the breeze, but we have a podcast on YouTube, Dismay Comics Podcast. It's under the Dismay Comics YouTube channel, but we're just shooting the breeze, talking about comics, talking about creating comics, because he's also a writer. And sometimes we're just get into deep conversations. Sometimes those deep conversations turn into us talking about Batman's poop or just random stuff. We spent 2 hours talking about The Crow 2024 versus The Crow 1994.
I'm
We're
sorry.
yappers. So if people like yappers, you can check that stuff out, or at least check out the clips. We have like 1-2 minute clips. At least check that stuff out. We did some funny Todd McFarlane Spawn intro stuff. If anyone's watched the HBO Spawn show, the Todd McFarlane HBO show, I love that show, and the intro is always like kind of weird because Todd's turned around and he turns back. He's like, imagine if you would, you have this world. I'm in an alleyway in this world, and you see me, and I'm peeing in the alleyway, and you look.
Wow.
What would you do? Well, our friend, our friend Al Simmons was faced with that same thing. Hi, I'm Tom McFarlane, Kratos Spawn. So we've done like dumb intros like that, but it's out of love. Like, we love the Spawn show.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, I had the same question, Morgan. Batman's poop. I had. Wow.
A lot of blood in it. There's a lot of blood in it.
Danny, where can people check you out?
The best place to find me is our website, fourthwallpros.com, where you can now buy Ace Blade number 8, as well as TikTok. And that's it. Just our website and TikTok. Those are the only places that you can buy it right now. And of course, if you want to find me on social media, it's the Ace Blade on all social media platforms. Kyron, where can people find you?
You can find me at tauruscomics.com. Like Brandon, I have everything all Taurus Comics on all social media platforms except for DeviantArt. Somebody actually took that one before I got it and then tried to say they were going to sue me. But hey, whatever. Yeah, that was long story. But you can, if you want to maybe check us out, this is the first time checking out our podcast, you can go to fourtalespodcast.com. That is the number 4, TALES podcast.com. You can listen to our previous episodes. You can buy us a coffee, support us financially. And hey, if you haven't had enough of me, You can check out my other podcast I started. It's a sports podcast every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific. Just look up YouTube and look up ESPN 1320. We'll be doing a live episode next Wednesday, and I hope you can check it out. But please join us next week where we are going to have the amazing Marvin Wynn back on the show, which I don't think he's been on since like season 1. So we got a lot to talk about. Yeah, it's been a while. But until then, everybody, sayonara, goodbye, and please take care of yourselves.
Beam Awards coming soon.
Dang it! What?
I was going to say the Beam Awards are coming soon. That's all.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? We're at the all right. 2 weeks from now, we got our end of the month recap. We're going to talk about the Beam Awards. We're going to talk about maybe new categories that we're going to add to the Beam Awards. Maybe a new process to make it more streamlined. But we'll get to that in 2 weeks at the end of the month recap. All right.
I want to know what it is Quick is trying to say.